Jose Juarez is the founder of Barbacuban Sauce Company. Jose started grilling when he was 16 years old in his family's backyard, and his love for outdoor cooking has grown ever since. In 2015, he entered a live TV grilling contest on Live with Kelly and Ryan and was chosen as one of the 10 semifinalists. Jose then went on to compete live on TV and won the title of America's Next Grill Star. After winning $10,000, Jose went on to start Barbacuban LLC in 2016, and today we get to hear about his hot and saucy business in episode 163 of the WHOA G&V podcast. You are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA G&V Podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. I am your host, Colin Austin, and today's episode is being brought to you by Gainesville Harley-Davidson. Podcast fam, be sure to check out episode 82, where we sat down with Kevin from Gainesville Harley-Davidson. It was a great episode, and Gainesville Harley has been a sponsor of our show all year. Love you guys. There is always something fun going on at Gainesville Harley-Davidson, so be sure to check out their events and promotions page at GainesvilleHarley.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram to stay in the know of all the exciting events they have going on. Always great food, friends, and music on hand, and bike nights are the last Friday of every month from 5 to 9 p.m. Visit their showroom just off Northwest 39th Avenue and I-75 in Gainesville. Call them at 352-331-6363 and visit their website at GainesvilleHarley.com. At Gainesville Harley, you're not just any rider, you're family. And with all those great barbecues and exciting events going on out there at Gainesville Harley, maybe we'll need to get our next guest connected to them so he can share his hot sauces with that group, because I know they will love it. You guys, I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. Today on the show, we have Jose Juarez, the Barbacuban, founder and creator of Barbacuban LLC. Jose, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man, thanks. Appreciate being here. Thanks for asking me.
Of course. I'm so excited because, I love hot sauces. And I was like, maybe we were discussing before the show, should I open this up and, taste it on the show live, the first time? You might want to, make sure your palate. And so I did it for you guys. I waited.
You did.
And I did not give it a try. So now I'll be honest, I am a little nervous about this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try this
first.
All
right, go ahead.
Before we get started. Yeah.
Give it a shot. See what you think.
You want to introduce this a little bit?
Well, that was the first original sauce, the 455 sauce. It's actually a mojo mustard sauce. I came up with it when I entered the contest looking for America's Next Grill Star on Live with Kelly and Ryan. So I had to have something that was going to complement a Cuban sandwich that I blended with an American burger. So that has mojo in it, mustard, mayo, and but a little bit of ghost pepper, but not a lot. I think just enough just to give it a little kick. So see what you think of it.
Okay. Let me do this, and then I want to dive into this story and hear all about this this contest that you
It's
got
an everything sauce. Goes with everything.
Oh man, dude, I'm afraid. I'm like this is so good. I instantly went back for seconds, but then I was like, well, maybe I should wait a second.
No, it's called ghost pepper. It comes in and then it leaves.
That's great.
So thanks.
Oh man, that is awesome. So this is the one that was the contest one, or this is the original?
That's the original sauce that launched the company.
That's
awesome. When I had to create a sauce in order to put on this sandwich, and that's basically what I did. Everybody else ran with a traditional, ribs or fish or chicken or something else, and I decided to do the best of both worlds. I was born in Cuba, immigrated here in '68, so I figured, all right, let's do a Cuban sandwich and an American burger. Let's blend it together, put mojo pulled pork on top of it, and come up with a sauce. So I started playing with flavors. That's something I've always loved to do. I own 8 smokers and grills, and this is I'm firing them up every night and always messing around with sauces. So I came up with that in a couple days, and
in a couple days?
Yeah, came up with it in a couple days, and then it worked, and I ended up entering that when I did the contest, and ended up winning the thing.
Dang, it's delicious. You guys, absolutely awesome. I'm gonna have all these bottles around the dealership for sure. I bring all my lunches and stuff. I'm gonna be putting it on everything.
Everything. You'll love it.
Let's dive into the story, man. I want to hear. Yeah, I mean, this TV contest, everything. Like, this is just like a side hustle passion that you got into? Like, just tell me your story. How do you tell your story?
It became a side hustle passion. My day job's, working in the power sports industry, like you.
Yeah.
And but I love grilling. I love barbecue, and I'm always doing it. And my wife tells me about the show. She goes, it's called, at the time it was Live with Kelly and Michael. She goes, the show Live with Kelly and Michael's doing a contest looking for America's Grill Star. They're going to pick 10 people in the U.S. She goes, I think you got to enter it. And I'm traveling around. We deal with power sports stores all over the country. And I told her at first, yeah, I'll do it. Honestly, no intention on doing it. But, I figured this too shall pass. And, so it comes around. She, I think they had picked 5 finalists at this point. She goes, hey, look, they picked 5 people. Once they get to 10, they're not going to pick anymore. She goes, are you going to do it or not? I said, yeah. She goes, all right, we're doing it this weekend. I go, this weekend? She goes, yep, this weekend. Figure out what you're going to make. And I shot her a couple ideas. She goes, nah, get more creative. I was like, rib. She goes, nah, just get more creative. I was like, all right. So then I started thinking, and I'm going, all right, so it's going to be this sandwich. And the funny thing about it is, so I come up with this sandwich. I do a 30-second video. It had to be 30 seconds, not 35 seconds. I send it to them, and I thought it was it. I'm actually working. I'm on the road. I get a phone call, right, from a 212 area code. I think it's one of my dealers up in New York, right? So don't recognize it, but I picked up, and it's ABC. And they said, we want to ask you a couple questions. We got your video. And that led to, you have been chosen as a 6th semifinalist. We're going to fly you and your wife up to the show, and you're going to cook live on TV, your creation. You're going to close out the last 8 minutes of the show. So we did that. Part of it.
Were you like freaking out? Like, what were you thinking?
I couldn't believe I got picked. Number one, it was like, because I really honestly thought, there goes the video and I'm done. I did what I had to do. Yeah. You know what? The freaking out didn't come in. It's kind of a funny story. So we go up to New York and I'm all excited, right? I actually thought, since we were filming outside, that it was not going to be live. I thought that they were going to tape it and I would mess up and they would fix it and they would show it on TV because I'm outside grilling. And literally 20 minutes before I went on, I asked the one of the producers, I said, because they kept having cue cards. I'm not good with cue cards. If you give me a cue card, this is what it looks like. Hello, my name is,
That's like me
good.
Trying to read from this piece of paper.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't like it. I prefer this.
Yes, it's got to flow. So I asked her, I said, how many takes? Because they had it really complex and all this stuff. And she started laughing. She goes,
takes?
She goes, there's no takes, Jose. She thought I was kidding because I was kidding around with her the whole time.
Live.
I go, yeah, but I'm not in the studio. She goes, no, that's why these cameras are here. She goes, as soon as they break in another 10 minutes, they're going to come in during the commercial break and they're going to be with you. And then the cameras will shoot you live and it's a live show. And I kid you not, that's when I got nervous. So I was like, oh my God. I said, can I go to the restroom? So she goes, sure. I go in to the restroom, I locked the door, and I started praying. It was like, dear Lord, do not let me blow up on national TV. It's like my throat started closing. I can't remember anything. I go to Kelly, my wife, and I said, Kelly, come here. She's in the green room. She's in whoever the people are, the stars that are actually in the show. And she goes, what? I said, it's live. There are no takes.
Did she laugh?
She comes back with, she goes, you only need one take, honey. I go, what is this? Caddyshack, be the ball, Danny? I said, that's what I feel like you just told me.
That's hilarious.
So I went out there and I told the producer, I said, that if it's live, we got to change everything. She goes, what do you mean? I said, it can't work like this. I got to go, free flow and change everything. At that point, Gelman came in, the executive producer. He came flying down. He goes, what are you talking about? You got to change everything. For the last 45 minutes, we've been figuring out, the slot and everything. And he goes, I said, it's just not going to work. I said, I need to treat them like they're my friends and we're going to have a cookout. And that's how it needs to work. They got to come in. We're going to start cooking. And then he goes, all right, tell me what you want to do. So I started telling him how I want to do it. I said, I want to change this, change that. We get through the whole thing and he goes, let him do whatever he wants.
He takes the cue cards,
yeah,
throws
exactly.
them.
He goes,
Whatever.
he goes, let him do whatever he wants. He goes, he's going to close the last 8 minutes, you know. And then he joked around. He goes, if you faint or something, he goes, we'll just drag you off and keep going. And I was like, okay. So, and that's what happened. I mean, and thank God it worked out great. They came out. We prepared it, and then that little part actually showed in the show because Gelman comes back over there. She goes, where have you been? And he goes, oh, I was down with Jose testing the food. Well, he was really down there going, what are you doing? You know, and so anyways, did that. Then you had social media. And that was part of how you got, points between the audience tested your sandwich, your award-winning meal, and they did. And social media, we got 83,000, basically likes. It was votes.
Okay.
So
were the other semifinalists out there at the same time type of thing, or like
nope.
it was different shows?
So
like, how did they do that part?
Every week they brought in a semifinalist.
Okay.
Every week until they got 10 of them. Right. And then at that point, based upon social media, how the meal was, they picked 2.
Okay.
And I can tell you, as I looked at every one of them, they were like pros. I mean, I'm looking at them going, oh, I said, I remember one guy in particular, I'm like, this guy's going to win. He's a retired, airline pilot, and he's also a chef. Come on,
That's funny.
And it's like, but yeah, so I ended up getting chosen, and I go back on the show. They had the people there from the Food Channel as and that whole show was nothing but preparing the food and doing the contest, and yeah, it was a blast. I mean, that one, at the end of it, ended up winning $10,000. And,
So they chose, out of the 10 people, they chose you.
Out of the 10 people, they chose 2, me and another one. And then we had to do a finals cook-off.
Okay.
And then the Food Channel's there, and you had to present to them.
That's how it went down.
Yeah.
And they just voted between the 2 of you guys at that point?
And it was based upon, you had X amount of points for social media. I had the number 1 on social media. And then you had X amount of points for flavor of the dish that you made when you were on the show that day, that each individual person. They tallied up the points and they went number 1, number 2, go against each other and, for the prize.
Bada bing, bada boom. There
exactly.
it is. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, this was a hobby until this point. And then like you win the money.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, let me actually go start a business now?
Yeah.
How did this part unfold?
So I win the money. I continue to give away the sauce to friends because everybody wanted it. And then you get your 15 minutes of fame. So at that point, it's like Governor Rick Scott, I get an invitation from him to come to the governor's mansion and cook for him. They did an AP release, and all of a sudden you get in this, you're on this radio show, you're on a TV show, and it was getting, really decent press. So we figured, okay, the iron's hot. And actually my wife and I started talking. I said, I don't know anything about, the food business, never been in it. I said, so let's start a business. Let's see if we can launch this thing. I don't know what it's going to take, but let's figure it out, and then I found out they're called co-packers. What is it? Well, they're the people who make the sauce that is FDA, went to the first one, won't mention the name, epic fail, couldn't do it. They wouldn't follow the formula. And then I found one in Ocala, had been there 35 years, family, basically owned and run.
And that's where you're based?
And that's where I'm based.
Is Ocala.
Yep. And, gave them the formula. We signed non-disclosures. I was there. I told them I need to be there with you because when the first one failed, I almost went like, they're never going to get this right. Because I was explaining to them, when you make mojo, you can't cover it. It has to breathe 24 hours. Things like that. And they're like, no, it's fine. And they were able to do it. We did the stability test. And then my next thing was, I said, okay, so now I'm going to get into Publix. And everybody said, you're never getting into Publix. Not a brand new companies never get into Publix. I said, yeah, I'm going to get into Publix. So I started calling them. And it took me like 5 months. I'd call, and they'd always refer me to the website. Then I started going to store managers and giving them the product. And they loved it. And they started calling the buyer. And then, one of the store managers said, hey, the buyer will talk to you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Give him a call. It's like, cool. Wow. So I called him. He let me know I'm going to make a decision in December, send me some product. I sent it to him in January of that year, whenever it was, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we got in and they featured us on an end cap, which they do for a couple years as a Florida local product. And so, we accomplished that one. And then the next thing was, hey, let's do a website. Maybe we can sell it online, But then in there other sauces started coming up. All right, let's do a hot version. We got the hot. And then it was this barbecue sauce. I've been making that for 10 years, just never sold it. I've been giving it away. And, that was my go-to barbecue sauce because it's got Cuban coffee, like literally fresh Cuban coffee, not brewed.
In the sauce?
In the sauce.
Oh, man.
It has bourbon. Not bourbon flavor, bourbon, honey, guava, or I call it guayaba.
Oh, man, yeah.
And so that one, I decided, well, let's go ahead and launch that. Let's get the nutritionals on it. And then I had to come up with labels. So the label's kind of a funny thing. So do you know what, you probably don't know what 455 is,
I don't have a clue.
Yeah, so this is really, that is the engine size of my 71 GTO.
Okay.
And part of what I did when I won the show, I pressed the sandwich on the grill with a connecting rod and piston from a 455 engine. And it was like I figured the Barbacuban wouldn't have a panini press. He'd find like a piston and connecting rod and use that. So, and then the name Barbacuban came out, which we actually launched it. So that's where some of the names are car related. If you know it, you don't. And that label is literally on the air cleaner of my 71 GTO that I've had for 45 years.
Yeah.
And so that's how the name kind of came out and evolved. And, we have the Mojo, the Ram Air Red, Zesty Ketchup. And then the other one that didn't make it, it got stopped at the border. That was Havana Gold.
Stopped at the border.
So Havana Gold is one that's pretty complex. It's a 4-step process, but it's literally a blend of everything comes up with Havana Gold. So I gave the secret away now. So if you don't want to buy Havana Gold, just blend them all. Blend them all. Yeah.
Which is your favorite?
What's my favorite? 455.
Okay.
The original one.
The original.
And I will have to tell you, like, this Mojo marinade is the best you're ever going to have. And it's not just because it's mine. I mean, most of the stuff is not natural. This is sour orange, grapefruit, olive oil. It's a Spanish olive oil. This was the traditional barbecue sauce. Growing up, we didn't have anything other than this. This is what would go on the grill. But that's an excellent marinade. I mean, for marinating, I use that. If you told me I could only have one, I'd have to just tell you, just give me the 455, and I guess we'll call it a day. But
before the show, you were kind of telling me a little bit, like a little obstacle with the Havana.
Yeah. And
I was laughing. I was like, oh my gosh, we should have saved this for the show. So I'm going to have you repeat it because
it's fitting that it didn't even make it here. So, I mean, that's why I say it got stopped at the border. So Havana Gold, online, I would have to say on a weekly basis, gets held up for review. Right? We could never figure it out. Like all of a sudden we get an online order, and the order's held up for review. And sometimes it's held up for review for 3 days.
Is it why? Is it coming? Is it being imported?
No.
What do you mean it's getting held up for review? I don't understand.
The name, Havana Gold.
Oh, it's just because of the name.
They think that it's something else, and it's the name that all of a sudden gets flagged. And I even changed it to Havana Barbecue. Like on the site, it's still called Havana Gold. And I don't know if that helped, but it gets held up. And I finally, as I kept talking to, PayPal and why is this happening? They're like, well, there's like a government group that actually looks at these things, and every now and then certain things get flagged and they want to make sure. And I'm like, what do they think's in it? Do they think I'm importing it from Cuba? Or
yeah, that's what I would have assumed. Yeah, they thought it was coming.
They never told me why. They just said that, and that's the only one that gets held up, Havana Gold. So I don't know. So we just deal with it. I thought about changing the name at some point because, with me, if you order from me, it goes out tomorrow. I don't like to wait 3 days to have to send you your product out. But
yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So you know what? I'm gonna have to mail it to you. They'll probably hold it up, and so
we'll get it at some point.
You'll
I'll be able to try
Havana Gold at some point. Yeah.
All right. So, and you're making this, you said, down in Ocala.
In Ocala, yeah.
All right. So, I mean, where has this grown to now? I mean, this is still a side hustle.
Yeah.
Or is this like your primary thing?
No, it's still a side hustle.
Okay.
It's still a side hustle. My wife's that's become her full-time job.
Okay.
I'm like I'm the creator of the products. I'm working on a new one right now, and I'll come up with the formulas, and she's the one that's been working with marketing. We hired a marketing company in Orlando that's helping us. They're doing a really good job with that. She's doing great on naturally good at taking pictures. And so we'll do a lot of social media. I'm building an outdoor kitchen just for filming, and
that's awesome. I love the dedication education there.
Because we want to film, we want to have recipes.
I feel like this conversation with your wife probably was something like, so you're in charge of the barbecue sauce business and everything because, or the hot sauce. How do you refer to it as barbecue sauce or hot sauce?
It's a sauce company, but you've got barbecue, you've got a marinade. See, two of them are condiments. So I look at it like, this should be America's new ketchup.
Okay.
Ram Air Red Zesty Ketchup. This is America's new mustard.
Got it.
And then you got a barbecue with this one in the Havana, and then you got a marinade.
I feel like I can picture this conversation going on with your wife, being like, "You're the one who made me make the video. Like, this is all yours now."
Yeah, but she's I told her, I said, I guess at some point, she's like, this is my business. I said, yeah, but my name's still on the bottle, So she basically has been running with it. So that's cool. That's her full-time, job. And I'll create the sauces. I was doing events before. I was doing a lot of different charity things, which is funny. Everybody thought I was a caterer because when something comes up, we just recently did one for the Boys and Girls Club where, I'll auction myself up to go to somebody's house and cook the award-winning sandwich,
cool.
And, like for 10 people and that kind of stuff. So anytime we finish something like that, well, that was a promotion piece, but also people thought I was a caterer. They'd come to me afterwards going, hey, your food was great. Now, I've got a wedding coming up. It's only going to be 75 people. I'm like, no, I don't cater. Well, I just do charity. But later on, we might because, that's another cool. One of those things. That's another story where you go, all right, I wasn't planning on being in the sauce business, so you never know.
So, where do you want to see it go? Are you fine with it kind of just being a side hustle, or would you like for this to grow into the thing?
Oh, no, I want it to grow into the thing because I have, I love the other business. It's a fun business, right? And I've been doing it for 19 years. And
it's your business.
It's my business. I started that one on an idea. I was working in the car business before, and I just had this idea. My whole thing there was, 100 people come in, on a sale on a weekend to a dealership. And at that point, 10 buy or 20 buy, 20% buy. I don't want to follow up on them. I want to find out what happened to the 80 that didn't buy it. And they weren't there for piano lessons. They were there for a reason. It wasn't because the hot dogs were being served, and somebody blew up the large monkey and put all the hoods up. So the whole thing was, all that stuff. I ended up doing it in the power sports business. My whole thing was, I want to interview the customer. I want to make a friend in 45 seconds with that customer. I want to find out the real reason they didn't buy, and I want to give that reason back to the store. And I think that's a business. And so far for 19 years, it's worked. So
we could have a whole podcast just on that. My gosh, that's awesome. It sounds very similar to the fact that, I guess you could call this podcast my side hustle,
exactly.
Right? Like I'm doing the new scooters for less, and that's been my gig for 17 years.
Yeah,
and,
same thing.
And the audience knows that I've been I've talked about it multiple times. Like I'm ready to just jump to this and do only this and get out of the scooter business as the operator. But right now I'm well, that's still the thing. And I gotta get this stepping stone a little bit more solid before making the jump.
It's exactly the same thing. Huh? Because when I look at this business, to me, the fun part of it is it's merchandise. Then you think about catering, and it was catering would be fun. Then pop-up dinners. I do grill clinics. I love those. Interact with people, show them different things. And I see that as a business. And I'm really excited about online business. And I think all of us have seen a shift in how people buy anyways after, with the pandemic.
Oh, for sure.
Shift. I saw it in the motorcycle industry. Internet is number one. Everybody chooses there first, and then they come in to buy. They don't just browse like they used to. They come in to buy. With this, it's getting the online, and it's growing every month. And it's really cool for me to get orders from all over the country. California, Washington, Oregon, Texas. And I always like to find out, how'd you hear about us? And because that's the key to anything else. But we're going to continue to push it and continue to keep growing, the online part of it, because I think that's the future too.
Yeah, you're so right. It's crazy because I'm even thinking about just what I'm doing with scooters. And I sold a scooter today that was very much sight unseen. The customer, paid a full deposit on it. Yep. And was I want to make sure that my daughter has a scooter for back to school. And saw pictures, I had pictures, but hadn't been here, seen the unit run, and I feel like a lot of our brand has had that. That ability to where it's just like this instant trust, at least when it comes to our brand. It's like, I trust you guys. Like, right. I'm going to pay you for the scooter and I'm going to pick it up in a month when I'm there. But you're right. I mean, it's just like everything is, and it's been, that's been the trend for a while, everything kind of going towards online, but now, because of the pandemic, it feels like it even got accelerated even more.
Right. Yeah. People are, used to just getting things like, my gosh, I don't know how many times, the truck pulls up in front of the house delivering something, daily.
Right, exactly.
It seems like. And it's like, and it's so, we've gotten into this convenience. I have customers in Ocala, right, that order from me online. And at first, I would call them. I would fulfill the order, I'd call them up, or I'd email them, or I'd text them, and basically go, hey, by the way, you can get this at these local stores. And every one of them said, oh, I know that. I just... it's just kind of nice to have it. They're willing to pay more, just have it show up at the house.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's good.
So that just shows you,
man, how times have changed.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your favorite thing to put it on?
Well, it depends on the different sauces. Like, at lunch today, I ended up doing this on a steak, because it has a great flavor on a steak. But the 455 sauce, it is really any sandwich, right? Chicken tenders, wings.
I think it'd be awesome on chicken.
Pulled pork, it's really good.
Yeah.
On a burger, I look at it like on a burger, I'll do this and I'll do the ketchup. It's like the two condiments. Ketchup is also good with seafood because it does have a very unique flavor, the ketchup does. It's got a little heat, but it's got a little horseradish in it, and so it's kind of a combo of a ketchup, a spicy ketchup, and a seafood sauce.
So, with you doing like the more and more online, right?
Right.
And you said you were building kind of like an outdoor kitchen,
yep.
Which is going to be, this is going to be a set, right? Like,
yeah,
ultimately,
pretty much.
Yep. Do you have like a YouTube channel? Are you doing social media stuff to kind of like use those platforms to like really build out that distribution of information?
That's the plan. So
okay.
A lot of it we were camping. That's the other thing that we got into in the last year. Everybody seemed to get into it too. But when we go camping, and I'll take my granddaughter, and I'll film something out there. Kelly will film something. I'll do a recipe or whatever, and then I go around to the campsite and give everybody sauce. Because it's a great area. Hey, here's some sauce. How you cooking? And then we've seen that actually return. So part of the whole idea with this kitchen is, it's a place to film all the time. It's going to be covered, have all the equipment, be able to do recipes. We were putting them on Facebook, but what we found out there is they would disappear eventually. It's kind of like a magazine, but instead of left to right, you're going from top to bottom. Right. You could find it eventually, and I tell them, oh, it's on Facebook, but it really was hard to find. So we're revamping our website to have recipes, and we're going to have videos in there. So these videos will all translate to the website where people can go in there, because that's the number one thing I get asked. What do I use it for?
Right.
I got to give you recipes. I got to give you step-by-step recipes where you can use it. Salmon. This is an awesome sauce on salmon. If you want to smoke some salmon on it, you put it on there. And I always, deviled eggs. That's great with deviled eggs. It's very versatile. So that's one of the things we want to do. So we're looking at a YouTube channel, where we want to have I already got the name and set up on YouTube, Barbacuban. I'm not doing anything on it, but I think that's another avenue, I don't know. I
think that would be like huge for you, to be honest. Like, YouTube continues to just blow my mind, because we have 4,300 subscribers for our like scooter channel, and I'm just like, I'm surprised that many people care about scooter, but it does really well, and I get so much engagement, and I'm answering questions all the time,
right?
And I could see that with barbecue. I could see you like talking about a specific recipe and putting this, or maybe you're teaching through it, and man, you'd be like, add this to it, and that's just going to lead to sale after sale after sale. You know what I mean? I think that would be huge.
I think I'm excited about doing that, and that's when really our whole idea. If you saw our construction back there, it looks like destruction right now. But as it continues to evolve, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I already bought the equipment. It should be done in probably another 45 days or so, because other than that, we were filming like outside, or I'd have to film here, and and it was I'd set up wherever, and we were doing it, but We still got a lot of content that we can put on our website now, and then we'll just continue to develop it. But, I can do grill clinics. I can do different things in that area because it's a pretty large area.
Very cool. So what's been the biggest challenge of this business thus far?
Well, so I would have to say the biggest challenge is it's extremely competitive. So when you're in a supermarket, area, like you think Publix, it's a premier store,
right?
And you're competing with hundreds of other products there, and that you have to stand by yourself. And you can't really do much about it. You can't sit there and try to sell your product. You can't demo your product, especially with the pandemic. Couldn't do any of that.
Right.
So that's probably the biggest challenge is getting it out there and word of mouth. How do you, that's worked, but how do you get it out there to where you spread it, So do you try to own Florida first? I mean, we own Ocala. Okay, all right, so that's Ocala. But Florida is probably the next step. And because there are so many sauces out there are so many products out there, the competition is fierce, and the margins are very low. And this product, as I was told a long time ago, not a long time ago, it's only been 4 years, but one of the guys there at Prima, actually the main guy, he's like, it's a penny business, Jose, and so that's probably the toughest part of it is you got a tight margin, with fierce competition, and everybody has a sauce, so only a few make it.
Oh man, I hope you make it, man.
Oh, we're gonna make it. There's no doubt.
This is awesome. I mean,
there's no doubt.
It tastes great. I mean, it's amazing, and I definitely look forward to seeing you overcome that challenge.
Yeah, it's a daily. And I think we overcome it. On a daily basis, honestly, you look at the sales and you always got to pivot. You got to be thinking about something different. I mean, That's the whole thing. It's like, and that's when we looked at, okay, do we go after more grocery stores? And honestly, my next thing is it may not be a big box grocery store because I feel like I'm in a premier one right now. I want to be there. I want to stay there. I love them. They're great. But the other thing that really is starting to open my eyes is these little specialty shops.
Right.
And I've gotten into a couple of those because they feature your product. That's all they sell. And then I had no idea how many there were, and I found out through a friend of mine. He's like, well, there's like 3,500 of them. And I'm like, really? So all of a sudden I'm going,
like, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I started my career selling on the phone, when I was like 23 years old, selling vehicles on a phone. And we're selling about 2,500 a year. I was selling just on the telephone. So I'm thinking, okay, so if we just start cold calling these people that actually do that, that's a way to be in a specific area where the competition is still big, but at least everybody's on the same field. You look at a grocery store, we retail at $5.99. Well, the average sauce out there is what, $3? So if they don't know you and you're not in the right spot, man, it's tough.
Yeah.
Luckily, it's yellow, and that's the one thing that comes out.
Kind of stands out.
They said it stands out. They said that's why they bought it.
That's awesome. Very cool, man. Well, I thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Super interesting business. I do have one final question before we wrap up. Just knowing that you came here from Cuba,
yep.
I mean, what are your thoughts on everything that's kind of happening right now? Just where's your heart at with all this?
Boy, you got another show?
I know. I mean, I know that we could have focused completely on something just like that, but
yeah. So
I would love to just kind of hear your perspective before we wrap up.
Yeah, I feel it's the first time ever that there seems to be a slight opportunity, to free those people. There's 11 million people in that island. What people don't realize, they're captive. They're slaves to that regime, to the communist regime. A lot of people don't realize there's two forms of currency there. Because I hear the embargo is going to fix everything. Drop the embargo. The embargo is not going to fix anything because the government gives the Cubans one source of revenue, money, which is not much. They make like $18 a month, and they can only go to certain stores, but they can't go to a store where the tourists come. They can't go to the hotels, So that's how bad it is for them. And now, with the pandemic getting worse and the food getting worse, they've gotten to a point where they want freedom. That's what they're shouting. Leave it da. They want freedom. They want to be able to be free. They don't want to be, some people come back, and one of the things that always bothered me is they're like, the people seem so happy and content there, and I really thought about that. I'm like, I said, they're about as happy and content as animals at the zoo. They would rather be running free, but they're captured in an island and they can't get out, and that's what they want. They want freedom. They want to be able to, they're not allowed to fish. People don't know that. You can't even go fish and feed your family. You can't have animals. It's so restrictive for them there, So I don't know. I wish the internet could get back to them, because I think that's helping at least the world see what's going on. We got 2 different kinds of immigration right now, what I don't get. Mexico, you can come in, but in Cuba, they're telling them you can't come in. So that part, it's way beyond my pay grade, but I don't understand that one, when they're trying to leave. But, pray for them and hopefully they stay strong. But that government, from what stories my dad was telling me, it was horrible. Their playbook is one of fear, intimidation, and they have no problem taking you away. They have no problem killing you, and some of the things that they do, like he was telling me, they'd put a police car in front of your house for 3 days and in the middle of the night knock the door down and you disappear. So it's that kind of fear and intimidation. And that's why these people are so brave right now. They don't have any way to fight back. 11 million people, they're throwing rocks. Because everything was slowly removed from them. They have no guns. They have no weapons, no way to protect themselves, nothing. And that was all part of the mastermind that started in 59, so.
And your family came here?
68.
68.
Yeah, in 68. Lyndon B. Johnson was president at the time. They had something called freedom flights, and you had to win a lottery to get out. Only a few people got out every year, and I think it ended in 69. So in 68, you leave everything. And we immigrated to Oregon. My dad had gone to the school here in the United States when he was in Cuba. He went to Fort Union Military Academy, so he knew English, so that helped. So we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Portland, Oregon. It wasn't an apartment, it was a hotel room, actually. He got a job right away at a bank. My mom worked at a factory, and they would have taken my sister away at the time. I was 5 years old. She was 3, and I was taking care of her. Because we didn't have anybody. And but I always talk about what a great country this is, because you got to remember that. You get immigrants coming here in 68. Most of them don't speak any English at all. And by 1970, they bought their first new car. 1974, they built a home. And it's just like the work is there if you're willing to do it. We'd all clean floors at night. At 5 years old, I'm working the mop. Everybody's cleaning floors at night and 2 jobs. So it's still the greatest country in the world, and that's why everybody wants to come here.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, I felt like as I watch it unfold, the little pieces that you do get to see from social media before, before they cut off the internet, right? It's like my heart just like aches. Yeah. I feel so helpless. That's the biggest problem, I think, is like so many people on this side, like you feel helpless. Like I look at that situation, I'm like, what can I do? Right.
No, that's the thing. What can you do? You don't know what to do. You want to be able to, even if you send them money, like you can't right now, but when you did, the government took most of it, but people did it anyways, because it's almost like I'm going to send them, let's say $1, and the family member will get 20 cents from it. But that's 20 cents more than what they had. You send 100, they're going to give them $20. But then all of a sudden, that's huge, because in an entire month, all they made was about $18 to $20. That's all they were able to make. So, but it is so, it is such an evil, really, there's no other way of putting it, a regime there that I couldn't treat anything like that, anything. The way they treat those people there.
What do you think to the people who defend it? And maybe this is just getting way too deep, like for this episode. But now that I've kind of gone down this path, and we'll make this the final question. But I see people defend it, and I'm blown away personally. That's my personal opinion. So I'm just kind of curious, from somebody whose family has come to the United States from Cuba, what are your thoughts?
So it's if you defend it, you're either part of that government, and the mentality, or you are so ignorant to what's going on that you have no idea what you're saying, because you can't defend people being removed. You can't defend somebody that says, I don't agree with this, and then you get a 1-year mandatory in jail. You can't defend making a teenage kid go out and actually, fight against these other people. And if they don't do it, they get killed. It's like that's what happens there. There is, when I've heard certain groups talk about we praise the Cuban government, and it's like what I say to them is you need to go there. You need to spend because they don't have a right to do anything. So there is nothing to defend that type of an evil regime, that's out there. Che Guevara shirts, I would see some people wearing those, and they were just that's an upsetting shirt. That guy was a murderer and a killer, and they all of a sudden thought, he was a revolutionarist, and he wasn't. But yeah, it needs to end. It's been since 1959. I don't know who's going to help them. I don't know what's going to happen there. I hope they can stay strong. But you know what? Unfortunately, people are going to die while they continue to do this, and that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, sorry to go from barbecue happiness to Cuba, just nightmare in my opinion.
It's a total nightmare, man. It would be what a great day it would be for that country, because what a beautiful country it was. Back in '58, the Cuban dollar was equal to the U.S. dollar. And, a lot of people don't realize it wasn't communist forever. It was a thriving country. But it just shows you what happens. I look at that. I look at Venezuela. Look what happened to Venezuela. It's destroyed. Or people say, oh, the education there is awesome. There's so many doctors there. Do you know that the doctors are there so they can farm them out? They're slaves. They send doctors to countries and they collect hundreds of thousands of dollars for them, and they don't give those doctors anything. That's why there's so many doctors there, because they use those as slaves that they send out. So many things people don't realize. I think if anybody that defended that country really sat down on a one-on-one with somebody from there and understood exactly what they're defending, I think they'd stop defending it. Because I think most of them have no idea what really happens. They just think of some kind of a romantic fantasy or something of, it's a different way of governing, and the U.S. capitalism can't be everything. Well, look what happens when there's socialism and communism.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Hey, man, thank you again for coming on the show. This is an amazing conversation. And please tell our audience where they can find you, where they can they order it online? It sounds like we were talking a lot about online, so where can they get it?
Online, 455sauce.com, 455sauce.com. Online, you buy 2 or more, it's free shipping, and we ship anywhere in the United States.
Awesome.
So I look forward to it.
Keep going, man. I look forward to seeing where it ends up. We're
going to keep the pedal to the metal.
Absolutely. So. That's amazing.
All right.
So, and thank you to the one and only James Leitner for producing the show. As always, it makes us look good with the lighting and the filming here. So, James, thanks for all you do. And podcast fam, if you were driving and didn't have a chance to write down the information from our incredible sponsors that make this happen, go to whoagnv.com/sponsors, or you can find the links down in the show notes of the episode. And special love this episode to our friends over at The Best Restoration. We all know that due to the impact of COVID-19, that deeply clean and highly sanitized businesses are the new norm. Your customers are going to want to walk into a business they know is safe. Make sure you call The Best Restoration, and let them help you keep your business top notch. These guys can handle it all. Let me just list some of their services real quick so you know the extent of their capabilities. These guys can handle water extraction and restoration, mold remediation, area rug cleaning, air duct cleaning, carpet cleaning, tile and grout cleaning, carpet repairs, and they have carpet protectant services, upholstery cleaning services, fire damage restoration, and so much more. Be sure to give them a shout at 352-505-3321 or visit them at thebestrestoration.com. And when you do, be sure to say, I heard you on the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. Give us your best whoa.
Whoa.
We will see you later. Bye.